This completely changes the Packers' defense. And the most curious thing is that we're not talking about signing a player. We're talking about a coach who can make Green Bay win in a completely different way. Throughout training camp, there's been one question that no one has been able to answer for sure. Who will really pressure the opposing quarterback? Because for the first time in a long time, the offense is finding it difficult to identify where the threat is coming from. And when that happens in the NFL, it's usually a sign that something very interesting is being built. If you're also following every detail of this preseason, leave your like and tell me below. Do you believe Jonathan Gannon can make this defense take a leap forward in 2026? Or do you think Jeff Hafley's departure will weigh more heavily than many people imagine? The answer isn't as simple as it seems, and there's one detail that could completely change how the Packers will play this season. Before we get started, if you want to understand American football in a simple way and support the channel, check out my official ebook for just $7.99. If you're on TV, scan the QR code on the screen. If you're on your phone, the link is in the description and pinned comment. And don't forget to subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. When Green Bay lost Jeff Hafley to Miami, many people were worried. After all, despite the criticism that arose at the end of the season, he had managed to implement a defensive identity quickly. It seemed that the Packers would have to start practically from scratch. But the front office saw a different opportunity. Instead of looking for someone similar, they decided to bet on a coordinator with an almost opposite philosophy. And that's precisely where Jonathan Gannon comes into the story. In my view, this may have been one of the smartest decisions of the entire offseason. Not because Gannon is necessarily better than Hafley, but because he arrives to solve exactly the problem that was exposed when the defense lost its main source of pressure. Anyone who watched the final games of last season knows what I'm talking about. Unable to generate consistent pressure, Green Bay began to suffer excessively. Against Chicago, the defense allowed 22 points. Then came 41 against Baltimore. And in the wild card game, again against the Bears, another 31 points were allowed. The most alarming number isn't even that. In all these games, the Packers allowed more than 400 offensive yards. That simply doesn't fit with a team that wants to compete in the playoffs. And there is another piece of data that explains a good part of this collapse. In 12 quarters of football, the defense managed to produce only 2 sacks. 2. You can have a good secondary, you can have fast linebackers, you can set up any coverage imaginable. But if the opposing quarterback has time to think, observe the field, and wait for his receivers to develop routes, sooner or later the defense will break down. That's exactly what happened. At various points, it seemed that Green Bay relied on a single source of pressure. When that disappeared, the rest of the system lost efficiency. The defensive line stopped winning individual matchups, quarterbacks found increasingly larger windows of opportunity, and opponents controlled the clock without much difficulty. Now pay attention because almost no one noticed this detail. Jonathan Gannon never built his defenses relying solely on a dominant pass rusher. In Philadelphia and later in Arizona, his trademark was always something else, forcing the quarterback to make a mistake even before the snap. Before we get started, if you want to understand American football in a simple way and support the channel, check out my official ebook for just $7.99. If you're on TV, scan the QR code on the screen. If you're on your phone, the link is in the description and pinned comment. And don't forget to subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. While many teams relied on blitz tactics all the time, Gannon preferred to create uncertainty, to show one formation, then execute a completely different one, to make the offense believe that pressure would come from one side and attack from the other. It's a style that demands intelligence, discipline, and versatile players. The answer may lie with a player who, until recently, many people imagined occupying only one specific role. But Jonathan Gannon seems to see Javon Bullard in a completely different light. And honestly, the more information emerges from training, the more it becomes clear why there's so much anticipation surrounding this change. Bullard himself confirmed that he's been training in different positions during training camp. At times, he's near the line of scrimmage. At other times, he drops back as a deep safety. Then he emerges covering the slot. And depending on the offensive formation, He might even line up wide as a corner. It sounds simple when you say it like that, but for the opposing quarterback, it changes everything. Imagine trying to figure out who's going to attack, who's going to drop back for cover, and who's just pretending to press. That's exactly the kind of confusion Gannon wants to create even before the ball is put into play. Anyone who followed his work in Arizona may have already noticed the inspiration. Budda Baker practically became a chess piece on defense. One play, he'd appear in the box. The next, he'd be covering the slot. Then, he'd emerge as an open safety. The offense could never predict exactly where he would be. And now, all indications suggest that Bullard may be undertaking a very similar mission in Green Bay. This type of defense also follows a rapidly growing trend in the NFL. Just a few years ago, formations with 3 safeties were relatively rare. Today, they are appearing more and more frequently. The percentage of use has increased season after season, showing that several franchises are betting on versatile players to conceal intentions and make it harder for quarterbacks to read their defense. This is exactly the kind of intelligent football that Jonathan Gannon wants to implement. During training, clear signs of this change began to emerge. Some blitzes he designed almost ended in sacks simply because the offense took too long to identify who was actually coming to apply pressure. On certain snaps, players lined up as if they were going to drop back into coverage and, suddenly, attacked the pocket. On others, it seemed like the blitz was going to be heavy. But everyone retreated at the last second. Matt LaFleur highlighted precisely this characteristic. According to him, one of Gannon's greatest qualities is making the opposing offense unsure of who is actually going to attack. And this is very reminiscent of one of Brian Flores' trademarks in Minnesota. Considered by many to be one of the most creative defensive coordinators in the league when it comes to disguising pressure tactics. In my view, this could be the biggest difference this defense has. It won't just be a matter of individual talent. It will be a defense that forces the opponent to think for longer. And in the NFL, a second of doubt can mean a sack, an interception, or a completely wrong pass. But there is another point that I hope to see change immediately. The Packers need to produce significantly more takeaways. Last season ended with disappointing numbers in that regard, especially when looking at the secondary. There also needs to be a much wider distribution of sacks along the defensive line. You can't rely on a single player for 17 games. When Rashawn Gary's performance dipped after Week 9, the entire defense felt the impact. On offense, I'd also like to see Matt LaFleur rely more on Jordan Love when the running game simply isn't clicking. In several games, it's been clear that insisting on the running game was hindering the offense, while Love has demonstrated the ability to take responsibility. And there's one more important detail. Green Bay finished among the teams with the fewest tackles behind the line of scrimmage. This is exactly the type of statistic that usually separates good defenses from truly dominant defenses. If Gannon can increase the pressure, create more confusion before the snap, and transform Bullard into the versatile player we're all seeing emerge in training camp, takeaways, sacks, and tackles for loss are likely to follow naturally. I truly believe this signing has the potential to be remembered as one of the great turnarounds of this season. Perhaps the Packers' biggest addition in 2026 isn't even wearing a helmet on Sundays. Maybe he's holding a clipboard on the sideline, designing plays that will finally restore the defense to the identity the fans have been waiting for so long. Now, I want to know your opinion. Do you believe Jonathan Gannon can transform this defense into one of the best in the NFL this season? Or do you still think Green Bay needs more reinforcements to compete with the league's top teams again? If you want to follow every Packers development throughout the season, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share this video with another fan. Because with each practice, it becomes clearer that something very special may be starting in Titletown. Before we get started, if you want to understand American football in a simple way and support the channel, check out my official ebook for just $7.99. If you're on TV, scan the QR code on the screen. If you're on your phone, the link is in the description and pinned comment. And don't forget to subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers.